Alrighty, CNT140 backbone links lab. We just got done hooking up our whole network with copper links, and we did some testing and some pinging and some tracing through the network to make sure it all functions. We're now going to come back and we're going to replace a handful of our links with fiber links, probably the ones that would be running fiber in our network. So to do that, let's start right off here. I'm actually going to delete these three links right off the bat because we're going to put fiber in place of them. So I'm going to click my delete tool and I'm just going to click all three. Boom, boom, boom. And then, now that they're deleted, I'm ready to start actually putting in our fiber links, if you will. Now, to do that, we actually need to do some addition of modules into our router. So I'm going to pick my Harrisburg router here. I'm going to hit the escape key to get rid of my delete tool. I'm going to hit the Harrisburg router. I need to go to the physical side, and I actually need to power this off to be able to put our modules in. We are going to put in an SFP module right here. And then we're actually going to, that is actually an HWIC that allows an SFP. That's what that actually is, HWIC. 1 gigabit HWIC SFP slot. And then we're going to put in the actual SFP module in there. So now that actually has a port to accept fiber. I'll turn that router back on. I'm going to go to the other one and do the exact same process. Turn it off. Add my HWIC. After I've added the HWIC module, I'll add the little SFP into it that would accept a fiber cable and turn that guy back on. So those two routers have the modules in, and that's what these two sections here. These two now have the modules in to accept a fiber cable. We're now going to put a fiber cable between our two routers. So we'll click the fiber cable here. I'm going to plug it into this gigabit Ethernet 000. It shows the actual fiber cable. And drag it over to the other one into the gigabit Ethernet 000 little fiber port. They're now connected with a fiber cable. Okay. We now need to add an IP address and configuration onto each of these. So I'm going to, because we added a new module, I'm going to go to the command line here, enable. If I do a show run, what you'll see is this is the new module that we added, the gigabit Ethernet 000. So what we're going to do is let's get an IP address on that. So interface gigabit Ethernet 0/0/0. IP address on this. I think I'm having you use a 192.168.200.1. We're going to put 200.1 on this side and 200.2 on this side is what we're going to do. So 192.168.200.1 default class C subnet mask. No shutdown, and that should bring that on once the other side is configured. So exit, exit, let's do a show run. We'll see it's there. So let's do a copy run start on this so we don't lose any of our config. I'm going to go to the Pittsburgh router and do the exact same thing. Enable, config T, interface, gigabit Ethernet 0/0/0. IP address on this guy 192.168.200.2 because we don't want to conflict the other router. 255.255.255.0. No shutdown. That link should actually officially come on now. We'll do exit, exit. There it is. It's actually showing it loading. The OSPF table's loading. We'll do a copy run start on this so we don't lose any of our config. If I do a show run, I'll see that IP address down here now. Excellent. Now, just as a side note, OSPF already had the 200 network configured in. As something that was already done for you on this guy. So there is my fiber link between the two routers, and that is now functioning. There's the directions for doing the Harrisburg and the Pittsburgh side. Now that we have that done, we want to add the fiber link between our switches, which would be probably most likely where will be happening. Switches on far ends of a building that we need to connect together. We'd be using a fiber cable to do so. So on our switches, we need to add some modules in. We are going to, on this guy, open the Harrisburg switch. Again, physical side, I'm going to make this a little larger. Let's zoom in. And what we're going to put in here, there is actually empty slots for SFPs. So we are going to get a the gigabit SFP module here, gigabit T. Actually, excuse me, there we are. That's the one right above it. We need the fiber one right there. This would give us a copper port T. This gives us the fiber port, the LH above it. We're going to drop 2 of those in there. And you notice we don't need to power off. Sliding an SFP module in is usually hot swappable. I usually do not need to power it off to do so. So there's 2 fiber ports in that guy. We're going to do the same thing on this one. We'll add 2 fiber ports here. And I'm actually just going to go right across the board and do all of them while I'm at it. I have the individual directions written out to do this, but I'm just doing all 4 of these switches at one time. Zoom in, slide over, drop, drop. There we go. So now we have fiber modules in all of these switches. Now we're going to add a fiber connection between them. So again, fiber cable. We're going to use 113 to connect all these, just to keep it nice and standard. I could use 114 just as easily, but we'll do 113 on all these to keep them standard. So there is the fiber cable between all of my switches. We'll need to give them a second to negotiate and come online, but we'll look for those blinky link lights here in a minute. And this is the directions now for doing the Pittsburgh switches. Alrighty, now that they've been plugged in, again, we're going to give them a minute for them to come online. We are going to look for blinky link lights up here, which I do see between my routers up top. I now see green blinky link lights between my switches, and I see green blinky link lights down here too. If we were to go to the closet, I would be looking for the link lights on these fiber ports. Now, what you'll see is you actually see the fiber cables here, but these ports on Packet Tracer are not coded in with blinky link lights, but I do see the actual fiber cables connecting the 2 routers and fiber cables connecting the 2 switches and so forth. So I do see those added in, which is really neat to see. All right, coming back to here, let's take a look at our routing table up here on the top router and see if we have this new 200 network showing up in there. There's the 30 network, 40 network, and actually there is the 200 network. That is the new fiber network link between the 2 routers. So let's copy that, and we're going to again add that to my text file. So here's my text file from the first half. Copper links routing table, copper links trace. We'll do fiber links routing table here. And I'll see this one now has the 200, which the copper one had the 100. All right, and I'll just keep that. I'll save that, and I'll keep it handy for the next piece we need to paste in. So now we're going to do a little bit of testing. We'll do some pings between our devices and also some traces. So again, I'm going to open this PC here and ping to this one on this side, the 40.10. So I should be able to bring the up arrow back and do 40.10 ping. It might take a second on the first one till it find its path through. Don't panic if 1 or 2 of these time out. There we go. If I were to redo that, I should see 4 successfuls. So we have communication there. Let's try with this one now. We're going to do the 40.11. Again, 1 or 2 might time out. Not a huge deal. Once it finds its way, we should be okay. There we go, and I'll repeat that, and I should see 4 successful this time. So we have full communication and connectivity through our network with these fiber links in. And the last thing we'll do here is, while we're at it, we're going to do a trace route over to the other network, or the other PC over here, and I'll see that it's going through the 30, the 200, and now the 40. It's going across this fiber link here. That's the one I'm going to want you to save and show me. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to put that in our text file here. Fiber links trace. And again, that's showing it going through the fiber link as opposed to coming back up here through the copper link. That was the 100 network for the copper. Here's the 200 for the fiber. Alrighty. And you notice really there is pretty much 0 difference between these as far as delay. You know, a gigabit connection is a gigabit connection, whether it be copper or fiber. The reason we have fiber in here is for distance. This can go hundreds of meters versus copper can only go 100 meters. And hopefully that's a good reminder for you. Alrighty, save that text file. That is one of the pieces you'll need to save for this lab. So I'm going to save that. I also want to save my packet tracer file. So do File, Save As if you haven't done this. And I tell you here to give it a name of like, Brown Backbone Links Lab kind of thing. So I will do this right here. I'll say Brown Backbone Links Lab. Something like that. And I'm going to save it to my desktop. Make sure it's a PKT. I shall point it out to the desktop. There we go. And now I have the text file with my proof of the lab, and I have this packet tracer file as well. And that would be the fiber links part of my lab. So I'll save that, and I will close that out. The only thing left to do in the lab is if I scroll down here to part 5. Oops, there's a part 5 and part 5. Okay, so this should be part 6. Part 6 of your lab. We're going to open up a text file and we're going to answer some questions from our standard about backbone links. So we'll open the standard, and I should have mine in my 140 folder here. Here he is right there. There's my standard. So I'm going to slide him off to the side so he's easier to read. There we go. And we're going to look up a couple things from the standard about backbone links. 568D, we're going to open 568.1D. So 0 is general. Okay, there's the general info. We're going to go to 1D, and there actually is a section in here on, there we go. We are going to go to the backbone section, then the backbone cabling and length, and backbone cabling recognized cabling section. So right here are the three that we're looking at, page 22. So scroll down here a little bit. There's 22. The first question here is about what for criteria of backbone cabling. The second question here is about length and distance. These 4 criteria about length and distance. The third one is about your recognized cabling for backbone networks or backbone links with the recognized cabling. That's your first 3 questions. The next 4 and 5 down here, 4 and 5 is about the links. So we're now going to go to 0D. So let me scroll back here now to 0D. And we have the cabling links section, which is right here. And the first question is about 1,000 base T. What is the median distance? So we're looking at 1,000 base T here for what recognized median distance. And then the next one's about 10 gig base T, this guy right here, about median distance. 6, 7, 8, and 9 are from the charts that are on the next page. This guy right here. This chart here, or table 2, 3, is asking about 1,000 base SX and then 1,000 base LX. So here's your 1,000 base XS right here. That's your gigabit fiber short wavelength. That's what the SX is, short wavelength. So it's asking what is the distance in meters for this type of fiber, distance for this type of fiber, which would be this one, this type of fiber here. So we're looking for SX, and then we're looking at LX, which would be the next one down the line here. LX right here, 1,000 base LX. Distance, distance, distance. Okay, and even single mode out here. And then we're looking at 10G base S, which is right here, same thing. And then 10G base L, same thing down here. In this case, it's only single mode fiber. So that's what we're looking for distances. And then the last little batch down here is from 0D, from the maximum pulling and bend radius. Well, actually, I got to go the other direction. We got to go 0D. We need maximum bend radius and pulling tension for our cabling. And that'll be down here just a little bit further. Here we go. Here is our pulling tension and bend radius. That's what we're looking at for there. So put those into a text file, save them, and you'll submit them with your other 2 files for this lab.